Level 1. The Halcon. You're 14. You don't choose this life. This life is the only one available. You grew up in Tierra Blanca, a colonia on the edge of Culiacan, where the streets don't have names on maps and the police don't come unless they're paid to. Your father left when you were 6. Your mother works 2 jobs and comes home with hands that shake from exhaustion. The rent is 3 months behind. The electricity gets cut every other week. You know what the men on the corner do. Everyone knows. They stand at the intersection of Cala Reforma and the unpaved road that leads to the market. They have phones, clean shoes. They eat every day. When a strange car turns onto the block, they make a call. When a police truck passes, they make another call. They watch. They report. That's all. One of them approaches you on a Tuesday afternoon. His name is Gordo. He's 19. He has a gold chain and a phone that costs more than your mother makes in a month. He doesn't threaten you. He doesn't need to. He just asks if you want to earn 500 pesos a week. You think about the electricity. You think about the rent. You think about your mother's hands. You say yes. Your job is simple. You stand on the corner from 7 in the morning until dark. You watch. You memorize. Blue pickup truck, call Gordo. Unmarked car with government plates, call Gordo. Stranger asking questions, call Gordo. Anyone who doesn't belong, call Gordo. You don't know what happens after you call. You don't ask. You are 14 years old, and you are now part of the most powerful criminal organization in the Western Hemisphere. You don't know that yet. You will. The first week, you make 500 pesos. You bring it home. You tell your mother you found work sweeping at a shop. She hugs you. Her hands are still shaking. You tell yourself this is temporary. You will tell yourself that for the next 12 years. Level 2. The Barrero. You're 17. Gordo promotes you. Not with a conversation. Not with a ceremony. One morning, he hands you a backpack and an address and tells you to walk across the checkpoint at Avenida Obregon at exactly 11:15. Not 11:10. Not 11:20. Exactly 11:15. You don't ask what's in the backpack. You already know. The checkpoint is a federal police station with a barrier across the road. 2 officers in military gear. Rifles? The kind of rifles that make everything around them feel very small and very temporary. You walk toward it with the backpack on your shoulders and your heart doing something that has no name in any language. 11:15 exactly. The officer on the left looks at you. You look back. You keep walking. He waves you through. You don't understand until later. The officer on the left is paid, has been paid for 3 years. The call Gordo makes every morning at 11 is not to check the route. It's to confirm the payment went through. If the payment didn't go through, you would not be waved through. You would simply disappear. You make 12 crossings in 3 months. Backpacks, packages, it's a duffel bag so heavy you had to stop twice to adjust the straps. You never open any of it. You never ask. Your body carries what your mind has learned not to think about, but your body keeps a record even when your mind refuses to. Some nig, you wake up at 3 in the morning with the exact weight of that duffel in your shoulders, with the exact sound of boots on asphalt at the checkpoint, with the exact way time slows down in the 4 seconds it takes an officer to decide whether you live or disappear. You are 17 years old. The money is now 2,000 pesos a week. You tell your mother you got a raise at the shop. Level 3, the Soldado. You're 19. They give you a weapon. A Glock. 17. Black. Already used. You don't ask how it was used or by whom. Gordo hands it to you, wrapped in a cloth, and tells you to keep it clean and keep it hidden and only take it out when someone above you says to take it out. You hold it in your room that night. It weighs 625 grams unloaded. You know this because you looked it up. You don't know why you looked it up. Maybe because knowing the exact weight makes it feel like a fact instead of a sentence. Your job has changed. You no longer stand on corners. You now enforce. A shop owner on Cali Cinco has stopped paying his weekly quota. He has decided that the cartel's protection is optional. This decision is incorrect. You and 2 other soldados visit him on a Wednesday evening after he locks up. You don't hurt him. Not this time. You stand in his shop in the dark, and one of the others explains very quietly what optional means in Tierra Blanca and what happens to people who confuse it with mandatory. The shop owner pays the following morning. Double. As an apology. 3 weeks later, the order is different. A man named Ruben has been selling products on a block that belongs to the cartel without permission. This is not a conversation. This is a job. You ride in the back of a truck with 2 others at 2 in the morning. You find Ruben outside a bar on the edge of the colonia. You do what you were told to do. You don't sleep for 2 days after. By the 3rd day, you sleep fine. That transition from 2 sleepless days to sleeping fine is the most important thing that happens to you at this level. More important than the weapon, more important than the money. It is the moment your mind finishes building the wall it needs to survive what comes next. You don't know you're building a wall. You just know the nights get easier. That's enough. Level 4. The Cobrador. You're 22. You collect. Every business on your route pays. The pharmacy on the corner. The hardware store. The woman who sells tamales from a cart on Avenida Insurgentes. The mechanic has 3 bays and a waiting list. The school supply shop where mothers buy notebooks for their children every August. All of them pay. Not because you threaten them every time. That's amateur. That's exhausting. That's the kind of collection that generates complaints and attention and police reports from people desperate enough to risk it. Real collection doesn't work like that. Real collection works like this. You visit once. You explain the arrangement. You are polite. You are specific about the amount, the date, and the method. You leave a number. They call the number when the payment is ready. You come and collect. The transaction is calm, professional, civilized. The threat is never spoken, because it doesn't need to be spoken. Everyone in Culiacan already knows what happens to people who don't pay. The knowledge is in the air, in the walls, in the way people look at you when you walk in, and then look away when you make eye contact. You collect from 47 businesses every month. The tamale woman is 73 years old. She has arthritis in both hands. She wraps the payment in a piece of newspaper and hands it to you without looking up from her cart. One morning she asks you if you want a tamale. You say yes. You eat it standing at her cart on a Tuesday morning in November while the city moves around you. You think about your mother. You don't come back to that cart for 6 weeks. When you come back, she has the payment ready as always. She doesn't offer you a tamale again. She has learned the same thing everyone on your route eventually learns. Friendly is fine. Close is dangerous. You agree with her. You just never say so. Your mother asks you to come home for Sunday dinner. She has made birria. She says your aunt is visiting from Hermosil. Low, and it would mean everything to her if you came. You tell her work is busy. She says okay. She says it in a voice that means she already knew the answer before she asked. That she asked anyway because asking is the last thing she has left. That one day she will stop asking, and that day will mean something you are not ready to think about. You hang up. You sit in your car outside the hardware store for a long time. Then you go back to work. The birria gets cold on a table with an empty chair at it. You don't think about that. You try not to think about that. That distinction between not thinking and trying not to think is something you have been carrying since you were 19 years old, and you have never found a way to put it down. Level 5. The Sicario. You're 25. You get a call. Not from Gordo. Gordo has been irrelevant for 2 years. This call comes from a number you don't recognize on a phone you were given 3 days ago and told to keep charged and close. The voice on the other end gives you a name, an address. A photograph was sent to the phone 30 seconds after the calendar. a time window, and one instruction. Clean. That's the whole briefing. One word. Clean. You study the photograph. The target is a mid-level operator from a rival cell who has been skimming from shipments moving through a warehouse in the port district. He has been doing this for 7 months. He has been warned twice. This is not a warning. You spend 4 days on preparation. You learn his route. When he leaves in the morning. Which coffee SOP? Which street does he takes to the warehouse? Whether he varies his route, he doesn't, which tells you something about how long he's been doing this and how comfortable he's gotten. Comfort is the enemy of survival in this business. He forgot that. You haven't. The operation takes 11 seconds. You are 2 blocks away before the first person starts screaming. You are in a different city before the body is identified. You receive payment in 3 installments through 3 different channels. The total is more than your mother will earn in 5 years. You wire half of it to an account in her name through a transfer service in Nogales. You tell her it's a bonus from work. She calls you. She's crying. She says God has been listening. You sit in a hotel room in Hermosillo and hold the phone and say, "Yes, Mama, God has been listening." You look at the ceiling for a long time after she hangs up. Then you order room service. Then you sleep. Level 6. The Plaza Boss. You're 29. You run Culiacán Norte. 43 blocks. 12 collection routes. 3 distribution points. 2 safe houses. 1 legitimate business, a car wash on Avenida Universidad that exists entirely to process money and provide cover for meetings. You manage 23 people directly. Soldados, cobradores, halcones, 2 sicarios who answer only to you. You manage another 40 indirectly through lieutenants who report to you every 72 hours. You also manage 6 police officers, 2 federal, 4 municipal. Their payments arrive on the 1st of every month through an arrangement so established and so normalized that 2 of them have been receiving it for longer than you've been in your current position. They don't think of it as corruption anymore. They think of it as a supplementary salary for services rendered. The services are simple. Don't ask questions. Don't file reports. Don't show up when you're not called. When you are called, show up fast and leave faster. A judge in the district court receives a payment through a law firm. A city councilor receives his through a construction company. A federal deputy receives his through a real estate transaction that happens every 6 months in his wife's name. Everyone is paid. Everyone is managed. The plaza runs like a business because it is a business. Then a rival cell moves onto 2 blocks in the southern edge of your territory. They are Jalisco New Generation. Younger, more violent. Less interested in the civilized arrangement that makes this business sustainable. They put up a banner on Calle 20 at 3 in the morning. The banner has a message for you specifically. The message uses your operational name. The message is not subtle. They know who you are. That is the part that matters, not the banner, not the blocks. The fact that they know your name means someone inside your network told them. Someone who has been in a room with you. Someone who has heard your voice and seen your face and decided that loyalty to you was worth less than whatever Jang offered them. You leak. You spend 6 days finding it. You don't announce the investigation. You don't confront anyone. You simply change the information that flows to each person in your network. Slightly different details, slightly different numbers, slightly different routes, and you watch which version surfaces on the other side. On the 6th day, you have your answer. A halcon named Tavo. 9 to 10 years old. 3 years in the network. Reliable, quiet, the kind of young man you had noticed as someone worth developing. You feel nothing when you find out. That is the wall working. That is 22 years of survival mechanics operating exactly as designed. You communicate with a sicario who communicates to another who has no connection to your plaza. Distance is survival. Even now. Especially now. 3 days later, the banner on Calle 20 comes down. The 2 blocks are yours again. You restructure your information flow, compartmentalize Titan. The leak is sealed, but the scar it left the knowledge that someone inside chose the other side that doesn't close the same way. You look at everyone in your network differently now, not with suspicion. Suspicion is too emotional, too obvious. With calculation. That's the word. You look at everyone with calculation. Measuring, weighing, updating the probability of betrayal the way a machine updates a variable. You don't think about Tavo. You try not to think about Tavo. He was 19 years old. You were 19 once. Standing in the back of a truck at 2 in the morning with a weapon in your hand, telling yourself this was temporary. You stop thinking about Tavo. That nig hit your daughter falls asleep on your chest while you watch television. She is 2 years old. She smells like soap. Her breathing is completely even and completely trusting. You sit very still so you don't wake her. You watch the television without seeing it. You think about Tavo. Level 7. The Lugarteniente. You're 34. You now sit above 5 plaza bosses. 5 cities: Culiac, Los Mochis, Mazatlan, Cuamchil, Esquinapa. Everything that moves through Sinaloa State passes through your network. Cocaine from Colombia through the Pacific Route. Fentanyl from labs in the mountains east of Culiacan. Methamphetamine from 3 production facilities that move location every 60 days. You don't touch any of it. That's the first thing you learn at this level. The higher you go, the less you touch. You haven't physically handled a product in 4 years. You haven't personally collected from a business in 6. You haven't executed an order yourself in longer than that. Everything is distant. Distance is survival. You communicate through intermediaries, never the same one twice in a row. Instructions are verbal, never written. Never recorded, nothing that creates a chain from a decision to a person to a consequence. A DIA informant surfaces in Mazatlan. Someone in the organization has been talking for 8 months. You know this because a source inside the federal police tells you. The source inside the federal police is paid. The payment goes through a restaurant supply company in Guadalajara. You identify the informant in 11 days. You don't give the order yourself. You communicate to a plaza boss, who communicates to a lieutenant, who communicates to a sicario, who has no idea the chain started with you. The problem is resolved. The DIA loses an asset they spent 2 years building. You have dinner with your family that evening. Your wife has made pozole. Your daughter is learning to walk. She falls 3 times between the kitchen and the living room and gets up each time without crying. You watch her and think she is going to be fine. You think about the informant. You eat your pozole. Level 8. The Lavandero. You're 38. The money is the problem. Not having it. Moving it. Cash is heavy. Cash is traceable. Cash sitting in houses and warehouses generates risk the way product generates risk except product. You can move and distribute, and it becomes untraceable. Cash just sits there, being evidence. You run the financial architecture of the cartel's Sinaloa operations. 3 construction companies. 2 restaurant chains. A chain of pharmacies across 4 states. A cryptocurrency exchange registered in Panama. A real estate portfolio spanning Sinaloa, Jalisco, and Baja California. Shell companies in Delaware, the Cayman Islands, and through a law firm in Luxembourg that handles clients it has never met in person and has never asked uncomfortable questions of. Every peso that enters the system is dirty. Every peso that leaves is clean. The transformation happens through layers. Company A pays Company B for services rendered. Company B pays Company C for a construction contract. Company C deposits into a bank account in the name of a holding company in the Caymans. The holding company pays dividends to shareholders. The shareholders are nominees, lawyers, and accountants in Panama who exist on paper and nowhere else. By the time the money reaches the cartel's senior leadership, It has touched 14 separate legal entities across 6 countries and has a paper trail that would take a forensic accountant 18 months to begin to understand. You know because you tested it. You hired a forensic accountant in Mexico City, a real one, from a legitimate firm, and gave him a portion of the trail and asked him to trace it. He spent 3 months and got halfway. You paid him well. You explained the exercise was hypothetical. He understood it was not hypothetical and chose to understand it as hypothetical anyway. That is how most people survive contact with this world. They choose not to see what they're looking at. A U.S. Treasury designation arrives. 3 of your shell companies are blacklisted under the Kingpin Act. You read the designation on a laptop in a house in Mazatlan. It names companies that haven't been active in 11 months. The trail they're following leads to Luxembourg. In Luxembourg, it stops. You open a new company in Singapore the following week. Then your daughter calls. She is 15. She is calling from school. She says her history teacher asked the class what their fathers do for work. She says she told him import-export. She says he nodded and moved on. She says some of the other kids laughed after class. She doesn't know why they laughed. She asks you what import-export actually means so she can explain it better next time. You sit in the house in Mazatlan with a laptop full of shell company documents and a phone in your hand and your 15-year-old daughter's voice asking you to explain your life to her. You tell her it means you help move goods between countries. It is complicated work. Most people don't understand it, that she should tell anyone who laughs that complicated work is serious work, and serious work is nothing to laugh at. She says okay. She says thanks, Papa. She says she has homework. She hangs up. You sit in the quiet house for a long time. The laptop is open. Singapore, new company. 12 steps ahead. Always 12 steps ahead. You close the laptop. You sit in the dark for a while, then you open it again. Then you keep working. Because this is the only thing you know how to do. Because somewhere between Tierra Blanca and this house in Mazatlan, you stopped being a person who had a life and became a person who had an operation. And operations don't stop. Operations don't sit in the dark and feel things. Operations continue. You continue. Level 9. The Operador. You're 43. You travel with 3 passports. None of them have your real name. One is Mexican, a legitimate document obtained through a contact in the civil registry. One is Guatemalan. One is the Spanish-European Union, opens every door on the continent. You have used all 3 in the past 6 months. You have been to Barcelona, Antwerp, Shanghai, Bogota, and Phoenix, Arizona. In none of these cities did anyone who interacted with you know who you actually were. The cartel's international network spans 40 countries. You manage the relationships that keep it functional. In Europe, the Calabrian Ndrangheta, the oldest and most powerful organized crime syndicate on the continent. They control cocaine distribution from Spain to Germany. The relationship has existed since the 1990s. You maintain it through quarterly meetings in locations that rotate between Madrid, Palermo, and twice a yacht in the Mediterranean that technically belongs to a shipping company in Malta. In Asia, precursor chemical suppliers in China. The chemicals that become fentanyl and methamphetamine in the labs east of Culiacan originate in industrial facilities in Shandong and Jiangsu provinces. The transactions move through import-export companies. The companies exist. The products they import legally are real. The second set of products is documented as something else entirely. In the United States, distribution networks are in Chicago, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. American partners who handle the last mile, who pays in cash that travels south through cars with hidden compartments and trucks with false floors, and twice through a tunnel under the border that took 14 months and $4 million to build. You don't build the tunnels. You fund them. You never see them. A DIA operation in Phoenix disrupts the Chicago distribution network. 32 arrests, 12 of them mid-level operators who know enough to be dangerous. You monitor the situation through a source inside the U.S. Attorney's Office in Arizona, a paralegal who has been receiving payments for 3 years and who genuinely believes she is working for a legitimate private intelligence firm. 9 of the 32 take plea deals. You identify which 9 within 72 hours through the source. Of those 9, 4 know anything that can touch the network above street level. By the time the cases go to trial, 2 of the 4 have recanted. 1 has disappeared. 1 is cooperating, but his information is 8 months old, and the network has already restructured around everything he knows. The operation continues. It always continues. You land in Culiacan on a Tuesday evening with a Spanish passport, a carry-on bag, and a phone that will be destroyed and replaced before you sleep. You drive through the city where you grew up, standing on a corner watching for blue pickup trucks. It looks the same. It looks completely different. You check into a hotel under a name that isn't yours. You order room service. You review the reports from the European operation. You think about Gordo, his gold chain, his clean shoes. You wonder if he's still alive. You genuinely don't know. Level 10. El Patron. You're 50. You are worth $4 billion. The number exists in no document, no tax return, no bank statement, no asset declaration. It exists in the actual world in properties and companies and accounts and relationships and arrangements, but nowhere on paper does it attach to your name. Your name is known to very few people. To the D, you are a code name in a file that has been open for 11 years. To the Mexican government, you are a person of interest in an investigation that has produced 47 arrests and reached within 2 levels of you and stopped there. To Interp, you are a pattern of financial transactions with no confirmed human attached to them. To the people who work for you directly, indirectly, through chains of intermediaries so long that most of them don't know the chain has an end, you are a weight, a presence, a name spoken quietly if spoken at all. To your fam, Ali, you are a businessman, import-export, very successful, travels a lot, doesn't talk about work. Your daughter is 23 now. She is studying architecture in Monterey. She takes the train home on holidays, and you pick her up from the station yourself. She shows you her projects on her laptop, buildings she has designed, structures meant to stand for 100 years. You look at her DRA Dr. I wings, and you think about permanence, about what lasts. You don't think about the tamale woman. You stopped thinking about her 11 years ago. You think about your mother. She lives in a house in a gated community on the North Siculiac-Liacan. 3 bedrooms, a garden, a woman who comes twice a week to clean and cook. She goes to Mass every Sunday. She has told the priest she has a successful son in business, and the priest has nodded and said God rewards the hard-working. You attend Mass with her when you are in the city. You sit in the pew beside her and listen to the sermon and think about the 47 arrests and the investigation and the 11 years and the $4 billion that exist in the world but not on paper. You think about a 14-year-old boy standing on a corner in Tierra Blanca watching for blue pickup trucks, telling himself this was temporary, that it would not be his whole life. He was right that it wouldn't be his whole life. He was wrong about what that meant. Somewhere in Tierra Blanca right now, this exact moment, a boy is standing on a corner. He has a phone. He is watching for blue pickup trucks. He is being paid 500 pesos a week. He is thinking about the rent. He is thinking about his mother's hands. A man with clean shoes is going to approach him soon. The man is going to ask him a question. And the boy is going to say yes. Because it is the only answer available. Because the only life on offer is this one. The cycle doesn't end. It just finds younger people to begin with.